During this final year of my educational journey, which was from the summer of 2012 to the fall of 2013, I took Human Sexuality and Counseling, Ethics, Crisis Intervention and Prevention, and Internship 1 and 2. Human Sexuality was one of the more interesting courses in this program. In this class, we explored the interaction of biological, sociological, cultural, spiritual, and ethical issues related to sexuality and counseling. We also learned about the expression of human sexuality and intimacy across the lifespan, attitudes about sexuality, common problems of sexual functioning, and counseling interventions. In addition, we assessed our own personal values and the process of how sexual values are developed. We learned about many theories of human sexuality, including psychoanalytic theory, behavioral, social learning theory, cognitive theory, humanistic theory, biological theory, evolutionary theory, feminist theory, sociological theory, and queer theory. This whole class was an eye-opening experience for me because I never really knew that theories of sexuality existed. However, after learning about them, I realized that I agreed with some of the ideologies of several of them. For instance, the biological theory of human sexuality emphasizes that sexual behavior is primarily a biological process. This makes sense to me because sex is actually a function of the human body. This theory points out that humans' sexual behavior are due to inborn genetic patterns. I also agree with social learning theorists in that some of our sexuality is learned by imitating our same-sex parents. In addition, I agree with the sociological theory, which postulates that societal influences like family, religion, economy, medicine, and the media affect the society's rules about sexual expression. Our final project, which is posted on this page, was a sexual identity paper. The purpose of this assignment was to help us reflect upon our own sexual identity formation while integrating concepts and ideas learned in this course. This was a great project for me to do because it forced me to look at my sexuality and determine where my sexual thoughts, ideas, and values came from. And honestly, I'd never even given that a thought before. In fact, most of my classmates felt the same way. I learned that my sexual identity was influenced by family, friends, religion, society, and the media. It was definitely interesting to see just how all of these influences shaped who I am. It was amazing. It was almost as if I had learned about another part of myself that I did not know existed because I never really thought of myself as a sexual being, just a being. As a professional, it was important for me to do this paper because it taught me just how personal an individual's sexual identity is. It helped me to realize that a person's sexual identity is a part of who they are, and that identity was shaped by so many different factors, and that all of these things have to be taken into consideration when counseling a client who is experiencing sexual issues. This project helped me to discover a new awareness for people whose sexual ideas do not coincide with my own. It taught me that their personal experiences influence who they become, not just sexually, but overall. This basically brings me back to a common theme that I have learned throughout this program in most of the courses that I've taken: multiculturalism, diversity, and respecting individuality. This class taught me that people are who they are. They like what they like, and as a counseling professional, I have to unconditionally accept who people are. I learned that I will have to be able to put my thoughts, opinion, and values to the side, especially if they differ from the client's, and utilize theories and techniques that will be best suited to deal with their particular problems and circumstances. Ethics was a very important class for me because it was there that I learned the ethical standards that govern professional behavior in mental health settings. I gained a great understanding of professional practice and ethics involving confidentiality concerning ethical and legal issues, professional relationships, the impact of values, and violations. This course helped me to realize how important what I do as a counselor is, and that I must be sure that I behave in a professional manner at all times. More importantly, I learned the importance of ethical decision making and how important it is to always put the best interests of the client first. One major theme that I took away from this class was the importance of assessing my own personal values and determining how those values relate to my own ethical decision making. As a professional, it will be important for me to keep my feelings in check, even if they differ from the client's, and always make sure that the decisions that I make are always in the best interest of the client. This class taught me how to be a competent and caring counselor. Learning about client rights and counselor responsibilities, professional competence, and training impressed upon me the importance of competence itself. In crisis intervention and prevention, I developed numerous skills to facilitate crisis intervention and prevention. I gained knowledge of how to work with individuals and groups to facilitate policies and practices that create and maintain safe, supportive, and effective learning environments. This class also gave me a better understanding of the potential impact of crises, emergencies, and disasters of students, educators, and schools. Although this class was geared towards educators, it was beneficial to me as a mental health clinician because we know that a crisis can occur in any part of the community, not just in a school setting. We had to do weekly case studies in this course where we had to utilize all 5 of the crisis goals, which are to intervene, stabilize, facilitate understanding, problem solve, and encourage self-reliance to solve an immediate crisis. Doing these case studies every week helped me to become extremely comfortable and familiar with facilitating the crisis goals. As a professional, I learned a lot about how to decide whether to do individual or group intervention. This was determined based on the variables of trauma. We learned a lot about group and individual interventions. The variables of trauma involved in the trauma usually determine whether or not the client or clients will receive individual or group crisis intervention. I'm currently doing my internship at Coastal Harbor Mental Health Hospital. I'm taking 2 internship classes at once, internship 1 and 2. Internship is broken down into 2 300-hour classes. These classes can be taken individually or together. I'm taking mine together, so I have 1 semester to complete 600 volunteer hours at Coastal Harbor. My job title at Coastal Harbor is therapist intern. I work at least 32 hours per week, sometimes more. My day consists of groups, doing psychosocial assessments with clients, and doing paperwork. It may not sound like a lot, but once we start in the morning at 9, we literally do not stop until we leave that afternoon at 5 or 6. One of my favorite things about this job is the fact that it's nonstop. There's no idle time, no time to be bored. It's a fast-paced place, and that's kind of exciting to me. We do 4 therapy groups a day at Coastal, 2 psychoeducational groups, and 2 process groups. Each group lasts 1 hour. So on any given day, I can spend at least half of the day in groups. I can honestly say that group classes really prepared me for this internship. In that class, I learned about types of group work, group leadership, group member roles, planning for groups, stages and processes of group work, techniques of group work, assessment and evaluation of group work, and theoretical approaches to group work. More importantly, I learned how to facilitate a group by allowing the members to take on more of a leadership role. I'm very, very comfortable facilitating groups, and I have found that doing groups is one of my favorite parts of the job. I also do a lot of psychosocial assessment, which affords me the opportunity to spend at least an hour and a half with each newly admitted patient. These psychosocials are in-depth questions about the patient's background, family history, and probably anything else that you could probably think of. You would be surprised to know how much you can learn about a person in an hour and a half. It's interesting because the majority of the psychosocials I do, and I usually meet the clients for the first time before the therapists actually do. I found that I have a great rapport with most of the patients. I always look forward to meeting them and hearing their stories. This intern experience has given me invaluable knowledge and experience. It has afforded me the opportunity to utilize all of the theories and skills and techniques that I have learned over the course of this program. As a professional, it has afforded me the opportunity to work with other LPCs and see the importance of ethics. I know from firsthand experience just how important respecting confidentiality and other clients' rights are, and just how easily they can be compromised, especially when working in a hospital setting. I've also seen some situations where the question of ethics has come into play and just how tricky those situations can be. Working in a mental health hospital has helped me to gain a deeper respect for mental illness and mentally ill persons. Mental illness is not easy to deal with from either perspective, the clients or the mental health professionals. The experience that I have had working with this population has helped me to become a more caring and competent counselor, as I saw firsthand how difficult it is for many of the clients to deal with their mental illness. Personally and professionally, I learned one very important theme in working with this population. They just want someone to listen to them. This population's experience is that people just diagnose them and tell them what to do, but they never listen to them. They believe that people don't care what they think because they're crazy and don't know anything, but that couldn't be further from the truth. I know that it is very important that I listen to them and validate their experiences. This is what makes me a caring and effective counselor. Emotionally, I think I gained a self-awareness of how I may have had some biases toward the mentally ill. I had preconceived notions about the fact that mentally ill people were not smart. Of course, I know that's not true. What I learned during the course of my internship is that mental illness crosses all lines: racial, educational, and socioeconomic. People with mental illnesses are just everyday people. I've seen murderers, rapists, healthcare professionals, teachers, students, and even some preachers come through the facility while I've been here. It has truly been an eye-opening experience for me. In closing, I would just like to say that I've been able to take something from each of the courses that I have taken and utilize it in professional practice. I was able to take something from each course and also apply it to several aspects of my personal life. Quite frankly, just being a part of this program has been therapeutic for me. It's been a truly awesome experience. I've grown immensely, personally, professionally, and emotionally throughout my educational journey in the clinical mental health program at Georgia Southern University. Well, that's it. I hope that these videos have helped you to gain a better understanding of what my educational journey has been like for me. Thanks for taking the opportunity to share my experience.